You have been buying the wrong barbecue sauce. Not because it tastes bad, because you never knew what was actually in it. One of these bottles spent 30 years owned by a bleach company. One has a Tennessee whiskey legend on the label and has never been made anywhere near Tennessee. One brand promised to fix its recipe in writing, quietly broke that promise, and left both documents live online where you can read them right now. 7 brands, all on the same shelf. You shop every week. All hiding something the front label was designed to make sure you never looked for. We are going through all 7 worst to most concerning, then showing you the 5 that actually deserve a spot at your grill. The number 1 worst is also the number 1 bestseller in America. That is not a coincidence. That story is last. Number 7. KC Masterpiece Original. Smells like a real cookout. Dark, thick, Kansas City sweet. Here's what the front never mentions. The company that scaled this brand nationally also makes bleach, floor cleaner, and trash bags. That's not a rumour. It's a corporate filing. 30 years as a line item inside a cleaning products portfolio, then sold off in 2017 to a food conglomerate you'll hear about 3 more times tonight. The psychiatrist who invented it, and won with it in 1977, has been gone for decades. His name stayed. His recipe left with him. On the grate, that honest first smell collapses inside 4 minutes. Tang burns off. Spice vanishes. The sugar glaze chars while your food is still raw in the middle. And that sweetener is listed twice on the panel, split into 2 smaller entries. Long-time buyers cut it with cider vinegar just to make it usable. When your loyal customers are repairing your product, that's not feedback, that's a verdict. Number 6. Bullseye Original. The warehouse store family bottle. Cross into Canada, and this exact sauce is made with real sugar. Buy it here and you get high fructose corn syrup. Same logo, same bottle. 2 formulas. Nobody changed it for Canadian palates. They changed it for margin because corn syrup is cheaper in America for reasons that have nothing to do with flavour. First ingredient isn't tomato, isn't vinegar, isn't smoke. It's corn syrup with brown sugar right behind it. 2 sweeteners before anything that belongs at a barbecue. 2 tablespoons is roughly 3 teaspoons of added sugar, half the recommended daily ceiling for most women before the meat has touched the grate. Too thin to build bark. It runs off into the flame. Number 5. Heinz Original. The only bottle here whose parent company told the federal government in writing that it destroyed billions in value. Not an interview, a filing. Open it and you taste the decision. Sugar and liquid smoke. Ketchup in a barbecue costume. In 2015, 2 giants merged under one directive. Cut cost until margins improve. Cheaper inputs, simpler recipes, identical labels. By early 2019 came a $15.4 billion write-down. The most famous investor in America went on television and admitted he overpaid. On the grill it sets into a hard shell fast, sealing the outside before the inside cooks. Looks like bark, cracks like candy, wet sugar underneath with nothing behind it. Number 4. Kraft Original. Slow simmered. In 2015 they publicly committed to removing high fructose corn syrup. Press release, headlines, applause. Then, with no announcement and no label change, the old formula came back. Pull up the product listing on any major retailer right now. First ingredient, corn syrup, not buried. First, the promise is still online. The product contradicts it. Both live at the same time. They bet you'd never open both tabs at once. On the grate, it crystallizes and scorches with a processed sharpness no hickory flavoring can hide. One reviewer called it barbecue sauce, impersonating itself. If this is useful before your next grocery run, the like button takes 1 second, and it puts this in front of people still buying on autopilot. Number 3. Jack Daniel's Original Number 7, the premium one. You pay $1 or 2 extra for what the label implies. Tennessee, a distillery, a pitmaster who knows something. Is there whiskey in it? Technically. It appears near the bottom of the panel, after roughly 7 other ingredients. You're not tasting whiskey. You're tasting the concept of whiskey, expressed through a font. And here's what isn't printed anywhere. It's not made in Lynchburg. It has never been produced near that distillery. The Spirits Company licenses the name to an outside food manufacturer, and it's cooked in a plant in Ohio, a stainless steel tank doing an impression of a smokehouse. The pitmaster the label implies does not exist. He was always a design element. Number 2. Open Pit Original. 80 years on one promise. Cheap doesn't have to mean compromised. Here's where that ends. They add caramel colouring because without it, the sauce doesn't look like barbecue sauce. A product that needs cosmetic help to visually qualify as the category it's sold in. Pour it, and it spreads like tinted water, straight off the meat, into the flame. Flare-ups, not flavor. Corn syrup first, before tomato, before vinegar. The smoke is flavoring. The color is coloring. The body is modified starch. Nothing in the bottle came from actual cooking. It isn't a recipe, it's a correction list. 3 additives, each one covering what the others couldn't provide. Number 1, Sweet Baby Ray's Original. The bestseller in America is the worst bottle here, and what makes it land is that it genuinely earned that shelf. In 1985, 2 brothers built it in a Chicago basement. They entered a rib contest against 700 competitors and took second. They didn't buy that credibility. They competed for it. In 2005, they sold to a salad dressing company, and that's where the founding story ends. Here's the detail that stings. The real Sweet Baby Ray kept the rights to his own nickname and walked. He runs a restaurant outside Chicago with no connection to the bottle you're holding. He took the name. The company took everything else. Now read the panel. Corn syrup first, corn syrup again, listed separately, then juice concentrate, then molasses, then sugar. 5 distinct sweeteners. Smoke flavor on a barbecue sauce sits 7th. Pour a realistic 4 tablespoons on a rack of ribs and you're at an entire day's added sugar before the sides arrive. On heat, 5 sweeteners obey chemistry. They caramelize inside 2 minutes, long before the meat below them is cooked. Looks like bark from across the yard, tastes like burnt candy up close. It holds over 40% of the market and outsells the next 7 brands combined. A monopoly built on a basement in 1985 and a label most shoppers stopped reading around 2006. If it's already in your fridge, keep it off the grate until the final 10 minutes and use it as a finishing glaze, never a base coat. Now the ones that faced the same shelf, the same cost pressure, and chose differently. Best option number 5, G. Hughes Sugar-Free Original. A caterer from a small Ohio town is outselling brands with 80-year head starts. On one advantage, 0 added sugar. He built it because his clients, people managing blood sugar, couldn't find a bottled sauce that wouldn't wreck their numbers halfway through a meal. Vine-ripened tomatoes, cider vinegar, hickory smoke as an actual ingredient, and sucralose instead of corn syrup. Grilling bonus. Nothing to scorch, so you can brush it on early and work with it through the whole cook. $4 to $5 in most major chains. Best option, number 4, Primal Kitchen Classic. Read the panel out loud and listen for anything you wouldn't recognize in a kitchen. Balsamic, cider vinegar, mustard seed, chipotle, date paste, fig. Every entry is a food word. After everything above, that clears a higher bar than it should have to. The date and fig caramelize gradually, so real bark builds instead of a candy shell. Hold this fact in your other hand. It's owned by the same conglomerate from 3 entries on the avoid list. The formula has held because of math. Change it, and the certifications vanish, and the premium price goes with them. Best option, number 3, Stubbs Original. A Lubbock, Texas restaurant where the musicians showed up on Sunday nights. He fed whoever walked in and charged what people could pay. Mason jars, then old whiskey bottles, then grocery shelves. He died before he ever saw the national brand. A spice corporation bought it in 2015, and this is the part that matters. They didn't change the formula. Tomato, cane sugar, vinegar, molasses, salt, spices. No corn syrup, no starch, no colouring. The sauce is thin because when you don't pad a formula with thickener, thin is what honesty looks like. $3 to $4, already in your store. Best option number 2, bone-sucking sauce. Still family owned, still refusing the cheap sweetener after decades of pressure to take it. Tomato paste, honey, molasses, cider vinegar. Thin, tangy, closer to a Carolina mop than a glaze, which is exactly why it soaks into meat instead of sitting on top of it burning. Nobody's holding a write-down. Nobody has a press release to contradict. Best option number 1, Rufus Teague Whiskey Maple, made by a small Kansas City outfit that competed in the same circuit that produced half the sauces on the avoid list and never sold the recipe. Real maple syrup and real whiskey doing the work the label promises. The opposite of a number 3, where the whiskey was a font, thick enough to cling, balanced enough to survive a long cook. It costs a couple of dollars more, and that gap's the actual difference between a product built to be eaten and a product built to be cheap. Here's what every bottle on the first list had in common. It wasn't the sugar, it was the gap between the story on the front and the truth on the back, held open on purpose because the story was doing all the selling. The good bottles didn't have better marketing. They just closed the gap. Read the back of one thing this week, not to be suspicious, to find out whether the front label was ever telling you the truth. If this changed what goes in your cart, subscribe. We do one of these every week.